I was standing outside courtroom 4B at the Chicago Family Court Building on a Tuesday morning in March when my entire life fell apart in the span of about 90 seconds. My ex-husband's lawyer had just finished explaining to me in the hallway that I was going to lose custody of my 6-year-old daughter Emma because I couldn't afford to fight him in court anymore. Because my lawyer had quit 2 weeks ago after I missed my third payment, because I'd used every dollar I had trying to keep my small bakery afloat while also paying for legal fees and rent and keeping Emma fed and clothed and happy despite the fact that her father had walked out on us 2 years ago and was now using his family's money to take her away from me. I was 29 years old. I was alone. I was broke. And I was about to lose the only thing in the world that mattered to me. My ex-husband's lawyer, a man named Gerald Sterling, who wore suits that probably cost more than my car, was looking at me with this expression of practiced sympathy that made me want to scream. "Mrs. Harper, I understand this is difficult, but the reality is that Mr. Harper can provide stability for Emma that you currently cannot. Private school, a safe neighborhood, 2 parents since he's remarried. The judge is going to see that and rule accordingly. If you want to avoid a lengthy custody battle that you can't afford, I suggest you agree to the compromise. Supervised visitation. Every other weekend. It's better than nothing." Better than nothing? Better than nothing was what he was offering me. 2 days a month with my daughter. Supervised visits like I was some kind of danger to her, like I hadn't spent every day since she was born making sure she was loved and safe and happy, like I hadn't sacrificed everything to give her a good life even after her father decided we weren't important enough to stick around for. "I'm not agreeing to anything," I said. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "I want to see the judge. I want to explain my side. I want a chance to fight for my daughter." "Without a lawyer, you don't have a chance. Judge Morrison doesn't take kindly to pro se litigants wasting his time. He'll rule in favor of my client within minutes. But if that's what you want, we can proceed." Judge Morrison. The name made my stomach turn. I'd heard about him. Everyone going through family court in Chicago had heard about Judge Morrison. He was known for being harsh, for favoring wealthy parents with expensive lawyers, for making decisions quickly and rarely changing his mind, for believing that money equaled stability and that struggling parents were inherently worse caregivers than wealthy ones. And I was about to walk into his courtroom alone, with no lawyer, with nothing but the truth and the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, someone would listen. "That's what I want," I said. "Then we'll see you inside. Court begins in 15 minutes. Gerald Sterling walked away with that same smug expression, like this was already over, like I had already lost. I stood in the hallway trying not to cry, trying to figure out what I was going to say, how I was going to convince a judge who didn't care about people like me that I deserved to keep my daughter, that money wasn't the only thing that mattered, that love and dedication and being there every single day meant something. The hallway was crowded, other people waiting for their cases, lawyers in expensive suits talking to clients, families huddled together looking worried. Everyone had their own problems, their own battles. Nobody cared about mine. That's when I saw him, a man standing about 10 feet away from me. He was maybe 35, tall, dark hair, wearing a suit that looked expensive but not flashy. He was holding a coffee cup and checking his phone, looking completely calm, completely unbothered, like he had nowhere more important to be. And I don't know what came over me. Desperation maybe, panic, the absolute conviction that I couldn't walk into that courtroom alone, that I needed someone, anyone, even a complete stranger. I walked over to him. He looked up from his phone as I approached, dark eyes, strong jaw, the kind of face that would be handsome if I were in any state to notice that kind of thing. "Excuse me," I said. "I need your help." He looked confused. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" "No, but I need you to pretend you do. I need you to come into that courtroom with me for about 5 minutes, just long enough for me to talk to the judge. please." He stared at me like I'd lost my mind, which was fair. I probably had. "You want me to impersonate a lawyer? That's illegal and insane." "I know it's illegal. I know it's insane, but I'm about to lose custody of my daughter because I can't afford a real lawyer, and my ex-husband has money and connections, and I'm desperate. Please, just sit next to me. Don't say anything. Just be there so I don't look completely alone." Why would I do that? I don't know you. I don't know your situation. This could be a disaster. Because you look like someone who might understand what it's like to be powerless, to need help and have nowhere else to turn. Please, I'm begging you. He was quiet for a long moment, studying me, probably trying to decide if I was serious or crazy or both. "What's your name?" he finally asked. "Olivia Harper." "And you're fighting for custody of your daughter?" "Yes. Her name is Emma. She's 6, and she's everything to me. But my ex-husband has money and I don't, and apparently that's all that matters." He looked down at his coffee, then at the courtroom door, then back at me. "I can't impersonate a lawyer, but I can sit in the gallery. I can be there as support. Would that help?" It wasn't what I'd asked for, but it was more than I had before. "Yes, thank you. Really, thank you so much." "Don't thank me yet. You still have to convince the judge." "I know, but at least I won't be completely alone." He followed me into the courtroom. We sat in the back while other cases were called. I watched Judge Morrison. He was probably 60, gray hair, stern expression. He ruled quickly on every case, barely listening to the arguments, just looking at the paperwork and making decisions that changed lives in minutes. When my case was finally called, I stood up. My legs felt shaky. The stranger from the hallway, I didn't even know his name, gave me a small nod, like he was saying, "You can do this." I walked to the front, stood at the table on the left. Gerald Sterling was at the table on the right, looking smug. My ex-husband Marcus was sitting behind him, looking bored, like this was just an inconvenience, like he wasn't trying to take our daughter away from the person who'd raised her. Judge Morrison looked at the paperwork, then at me. "Mrs. Harper, I see you're appearing pro se today. Where is your attorney?" "I don't have one, Your Honor. I couldn't afford to keep paying, and she withdrew from the case." "I see. And you understand that proceeding without legal representation puts you at a significant disadvantage?" "Yes, Your Honor, but I couldn't not show up. This is about my daughter. I need the chance to explain why she should stay with me." "Mr. Sterling, your opening argument." Gerald Sterling stood up, straightened his expensive tie, smiled that practiced smile. "Your Honor, this case is straightforward. Mr. Harper is requesting primary custody with Mrs. Harper receiving supervised visitation. He can provide a stable home environment, private education, and consistent care. Mrs. Harper, while no doubt well-intentioned, is financially unstable, works inconsistent hours at a failing business, and lives in a neighborhood with higher than average crime rates. The choice is clear. Emma Harper deserves stability. Her father can provide that. Her mother cannot." He sat down, looking satisfied, like he just won. Judge Morrison turned to me. "Mrs. Harper, your response." I took a breath, tried to steady my voice. "Your Honor, I understand that my ex-husband has more money than I do. I understand that he can offer things I can't afford, but money isn't everything. I've been Emma's primary caregiver since she was born. I wake her up every morning. I make her breakfast. I take her to school, I help with her homework, I read her bedtime stories. I'm there when she's sick or scared or happy or sad. I'm the one who knows she likes her sandwiches cut in triangles, and that she's afraid of thunderstorms, and that her favorite color is purple. Her father left us 2 years ago. He barely called for the first year. He didn't pay child support for 8 months. And now he's remarried to someone with money, and suddenly he wants to be father of the year. But Emma doesn't know him. Not really. She knows me. And taking her away from the person who's been her whole world since birth, That's not stability. That's trauma. So yes, I work long hours trying to keep my bakery running. Yes, I live in a neighborhood that's not perfect. Yes, I struggle sometimes. But I love my daughter more than anything in this world, and I've proven that every single day by being there, by choosing her over everything else, by making sure she knows she's loved and wanted and important. That has to count for something. Please don't take her away from me based on money alone. Please look at who's actually been the parent. I sat down. My hands were shaking. Judge Morrison was writing notes. Didn't look up. Gerald Sterling stood again. Your Honor, Mrs. Harper's emotional appeal aside, the facts remain. She works 12 to 14-hour days. Emma is frequently left with babysitters or after-school programs. Her grades have been declining. She's showing signs of stress. Mr. Harper can provide her with a stay-at-home stepmother, a stable schedule, and resources for any additional support she needs, including therapy to help her adjust. The court should rule in favor of stability and resources. Mrs. Harper, anything else? Judge Morrison still wasn't looking at me. Your Honor, Emma's grades haven't declined. She's in first grade. She gets stars and smiley faces, not letter grades. And she's not stressed because of me. She's stressed because her father suddenly appeared after mostly ignoring her for 2 years and is trying to take her away from her home, from her school, from her friends, from everything she knows. If she needs therapy, it's because of this custody battle, not because of anything I've done wrong. I'm not a perfect parent. Nobody is. But I'm her parent. I'm the one who's been there. I'm the one who matters to her. Please don't forget that. Judge Morrison finally looked up. His expression was unreadable. I'll take a 30-minute recess to review the documentation and make my decision. Court is adjourned. He stood up, left through the door behind the bench. Everyone else started filing out. Gerald Sterling was talking to Marcus, both of them looking confident. I sat at my table feeling like I was going to be sick. I'd given it everything I had, and I didn't know if it was enough. The stranger who'd agreed to sit in the courtroom came to the front. You did well. You made a strong case. It won't matter. Did you see his face? He's already decided. He's going to give Marcus primary custody, and I'm going to lose my daughter.
You don't know that. I know enough. I've heard the stories about Judge Morrison. He favors wealthy parents. He thinks money equals good parenting. He's going to rule for Marcus, and there's nothing I can do about it. Then we wait. See what happens. Maybe you're wrong. And maybe you're being nice to someone who's about to have her heart ripped out. But thank you for sitting here, for being a witness to this disaster. It helped more than you know. You're welcome. I hope it works out. I really do. He looked like he wanted to say something else, but before he could, his phone rang. He looked at it. I'm sorry. I have to take this. Good luck, Olivia Harper. He walked out of the courtroom. I sat alone at my table, stared at the empty judge's bench, tried to prepare myself for the worst. The 30 minutes felt like hours. Other people filtered back in, lawyers and clients and families waiting for their own cases. Finally, Judge Morrison returned. Everyone stood. He sat. We sat. In the matter of Harper versus Harper, I've reviewed all submitted documentation, I've considered both arguments, and I'm ready to issue my ruling. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. Mrs. Harper, your dedication to your daughter is evident. Your emotional testimony was compelling. However, this court must consider what's in the best interest of the child, and based on the evidence presented, I find that Mr. Harper can provide a more stable environment with better resources and more consistent care. I felt like I couldn't breathe. This was it. He was taking her away. Therefore, I'm awarding primary physical custody to Mr. Harper, with Mrs. Harper receiving visitation. No. However, Judge Morrison continued, before I finalize that ruling, I want to address something that's been bothering me about this case. He looked directly at Gerald Sterling. Mr. Sterling, Your firm has appeared before me 17 times in the last year on custody cases, and in every single case, you've represented the wealthier parent. And in every single case, you've argued that money equals stability, that financial resources are the primary indicator of good parenting. And I'm starting to wonder if your firm is exploiting desperate parents who are willing to pay any amount to win custody battles, regardless of what's actually best for the child. Gerald Sterling stood up. Your Honor, I resent that implication. My firm represents our clients' best interests. I'm sure you do. But I'm also aware that your firm has a reputation for aggressive tactics, for using financial resources to overwhelm less wealthy opponents, for making custody battles so expensive that the other parent has to give up. And I don't appreciate being used as a rubber stamp for those tactics. This wasn't what I expected. Judge Morrison looked at the paperwork again. Mrs. Harper, you stated that you've been your daughter's primary caregiver since birth, that you're present in her daily life, that you understand her needs and routines. Mr. Sterling, do you have any evidence that Mrs. Harper has been neglectful or abusive or unfit? No, Your Honor, but her financial situation. Her financial situation is not evidence of unfitness. Being poor is not child abuse. Working long hours to provide for your child is not neglect. Living in a less expensive neighborhood is not grounds for terminating custody. Gerald Sterling looked uncomfortable. Your Honor, with respect, Mr. Harper can provide advantages that Mrs. Harper cannot. Advantages? You mean money. You mean private schools and big houses and expensive clothes. Those are nice things, but they're not necessary things. They're not what makes a good parent. Judge Morrison turned to Marcus. Mr. Harper, let me ask you something. What's your daughter's favorite color? Marcus hesitated. Pink? Mrs. Harper said it's purple. What's your daughter afraid of? I'm not sure. Thunderstorms, according to her mother. How does your daughter like her sandwiches cut? Is this really necessary, Your Honor? Answer the question. I don't know. Triangles. Her mother knows because her mother is paying attention. Her mother is present. Her mother is doing the work of parenting every single day. What are you doing, Mr. Harper, beyond showing up to court with an expensive lawyer? Marcus didn't answer. Judge Morrison continued. I've seen a lot of custody cases in my career, and I'll tell you what I've learned. Money makes life easier. It opens doors, it provides opportunities, but it doesn't make you a good parent. Being present makes you a good parent. Knowing your child makes you a good parent. Prioritizing their needs over your own makes you a good parent. And from what I've seen today, Mrs. Harper is doing all of those things despite financial hardship, while you, Mr. Harper, are trying to use money to take a child away from the person who's actually raising her. He paused. I'm reversing my initial ruling. Primary physical custody remains with Mrs. Harper. Mr. Harper, you'll have visitation rights. We'll start with supervised visits to ensure Emma is comfortable. After 6 months, we can revisit the arrangement, but Emma stays with her mother because that's what's in her best interest, not your bank account, her mother. I couldn't breathe, couldn't process what I was hearing. Gerald Sterling stood up. Your Honor, we request an appeal. You can request whatever you want. My ruling stands. And Mr. Sterling, I suggest your firm reconsider its approach to custody cases because I'm going to be watching very carefully how you operate in my courtroom from now on. If I see more of this pattern of using financial resources to bully less wealthy parents, there will be consequences. He banged his gavel. Court is adjourned. I sat there in shock. I'd won. I'd actually won. Emma was staying with me. My daughter wasn't being taken away. I'd kept her. Gerald Sterling was packing up his briefcase, looking furious. Marcus was already gone, probably too embarrassed to stick around after being called out by a judge. I stood up on shaky legs, walked out of the courtroom in a daze, found a bench in the hallway and just sat down, tried to process what had happened. The stranger who'd sat in the courtroom was standing nearby, talking on his phone. When he saw me, he ended the call and walked over. I take it things worked out? I won! I actually won. The judge ruled in my favor. My daughter stays with me. And that's wonderful. Congratulations. I don't understand what happened. Judge Morrison was going to rule for Marcus. I could see it. And then he just changed his mind, called out the lawyer for using money to bully me, gave this whole speech about what makes a good parent. That doesn't happen. Judges don't do that. Sometimes they do. When they see something that bothers them enough, I guess. I can't believe it. I was so sure I'd lost. I looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. I don't even know your name. You helped me, agreed to sit in that courtroom for a complete stranger, and I don't even know what to call you. He smiled slightly. My name is Alexander Morrison. The name hit me like a physical blow. Morrison. Wait, Morrison? Like Judge Morrison? He's my father. I felt my stomach drop. Your father? The judge who just ruled on my case, your father? Yes. Oh my God, did you tell him to rule in my favor? Did you influence his decision? Because if you did, Marcus will appeal. He'll say the ruling was compromised. He'll get another judge and I'll have to do this all over again. And I didn't influence anything. My father doesn't know I was in that courtroom. He doesn't know we spoke. He made his decision based on the facts of the case and his own judgment. That's all. But you're his son. You were there. That has to mean something. It means I watched a woman fight desperately for her daughter. It means I saw someone face down a system designed to favor wealth and power and still try. It means I thought you deserved support, even if it was just silent presence in a courtroom. That's all. I didn't know what to say. This man, this stranger I'd grabbed in desperation, was the judge's son. Why didn't you tell me? Because it wouldn't have changed anything. You still needed someone in that courtroom. I was still willing to be that person. My relationship to the judge wasn't relevant. It's completely relevant. If Marcus finds out, he won't, because there's nothing to find out. I was a spectator in a public courtroom. That's not illegal. That's not unethical. That's just being present. Your ex-husband has no grounds for appeal based on that. He was probably right, but I still felt unsettled. I need to go. I need to call Emma's school, make sure she knows everything's okay, make sure she knows she's coming home with me tonight like always. Of course. Go. Take care of your daughter. Congratulations again, Olivia Harper. I walked away, got in my car, sat there for a minute just breathing. I'd won. Against all odds. Against a system that favored wealth. Against an ex-husband with resources and connections. I'd won because I'd been a good mother. Because a judge had seen past the money to what actually mattered. And maybe, just maybe, because a stranger had agreed to sit in a courtroom and be a silent witness to my fight. I drove to Emma's school, picked her up early, held her tight and told her everything was going to be okay, that she was staying with me, that nothing was changing, that we were going to be fine. She didn't fully understand what had been at stake. She just knew Mommy seemed happier than she'd been in weeks. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Olivia Harper, this is Alexander Morrison. We spoke at the courthouse today. I remember. How did you get my number? I have resources. Listen, I'm calling because I wanted to make sure you understood something. My father's ruling today wasn't influenced by me, but it was right. You deserved that outcome, and I think you deserve more than just barely winning a custody battle. I think you deserve support to make sure you're in a strong position if your ex-husband tries this again.
What kind of support? I run a foundation. We provide legal assistance to parents who can't afford representation in custody cases, particularly cases where one parent is using financial resources to overwhelm the other. I'd like to offer you access to our lawyers, free of charge.
just to make sure you're protected if Marcus decides to appeal or file for a modification. Why would you do that? You don't know me. Because I've seen too many cases like yours. Parents who lose custody not because they're unfit, but because they can't afford to fight. It's not right, and I'm in a position to help. So I'm offering. Is this because you feel guilty? Because you're the judge's son and you think you influence things? No, this is because you fought hard for your daughter and you won. And I want to make sure that win sticks. That's all. I should have been suspicious. Should have questioned his motives, but I was exhausted and relieved and desperate for any kind of safety net. Okay. Thank you. I accept your offer. Good. I'll have someone from my office contact you tomorrow to set up an initial consultation. In the meantime, document everything. Every interaction with Emma, every expense, every moment of care. If Marcus tries to challenge the ruling, you'll want records. I will. Thank you, Alexander Morrison. You're welcome. And Olivia, you're a good mother. Don't let anyone make you doubt that. He hung up. I sat on my couch in my small apartment in my not great neighborhood and cried. Not from sadness, from relief, from gratitude, from the overwhelming emotion of knowing my daughter was safe, that I'd protected her, that we were going to be okay. The next day, someone from Alexander's foundation called. Her name was Rebecca Chen, and she was a family law attorney with 15 years of experience. She scheduled a meeting at her office, asked me to bring all my custody documentation. I went the next week. Rebecca's office was in a nice building downtown, professional, clean, the kind of place I never would have been able to afford to walk into before. She reviewed my case, asked questions, made notes. "This is good," she finally said. "Judge Morrison's ruling was clear and well-reasoned. Marcus will have a hard time overturning it, but your ex-husband's lawyer is aggressive. He might try for a modification, claim changed circumstances. We need to build your case stronger." How do we do that? Documentation, records, proof that you're providing excellent care, proof that Emma is thriving with you, school reports, medical records, character witnesses, anything that shows you're a stable, capable parent. I can do that. Good. Also, I'm going to file some motions on your behalf, requesting that Marcus pay his full child support, including back payments he missed, requesting that future custody discussions include a guardian ad litem to represent Emma's interests, making sure you're protected legally. How much is this going to cost? Mr. Morrison's foundation covers all legal fees for qualified clients. You qualified the moment Judge Morrison made his ruling. This won't cost you anything except time and effort. Why? Why is Alexander doing this? Rebecca smiled. Because he can. Because he's seen what happens when wealthy parents use the legal system as a weapon. Because he's in a position to help and he chooses to. Don't question it. Just accept it. I worked with Rebecca for the next 3 months. We built a strong case, documented everything, made sure I was protected if Marcus tried anything. And Marcus did try. He filed for a modification 2 months after the initial ruling, claimed I'd moved to an even worse neighborhood, that Emma was being neglected, that I was putting her in danger. All lies, all easily disproven. Rebecca handled it, presented evidence, showed that I'd actually moved to a better apartment in a safer area, that Emma's grades were excellent, that her teacher described her as happy and well-adjusted, that every single one of Marcus's claims was baseless. The judge, a different one this time, to avoid any appearance of bias, ruled in my favor again, told Marcus to stop wasting the court's time, ordered him to pay increased child support to compensate for the frivolous filing. Marcus gave up after that. Accepted the visitation schedule, started seeing Emma regularly but without the pressure of a custody battle. And slowly, things got better. My bakery started doing well. I hired help so I wasn't working insane hours. I moved to an even better apartment. I built a stable, happy life for Emma and me. And I didn't hear from Alexander for 6 months. Then one day he called. "Olivia, this is Alexander. How are you?" "I'm good. Really good, actually. Things are stable. Emma's happy, Marcus has backed off. Your foundation's help made all the difference. I'm glad. That's why I'm calling, actually. I wanted to follow up, make sure you didn't need anything else. I don't think so. Rebecca handled everything. I can't thank you enough for the help. You already thanked me, multiple times, but there's another reason I'm calling.
I was wondering if you'd be willing to meet for coffee? Just to talk. Not about legal things. Just to talk. I was quiet for a moment. Why? Because I've thought about you several times over the last 6 months. Wondered how you were doing. Whether things worked out. And I realized I'd like to get to know you better, if you're interested. Alexander, I'm grateful for everything you did, but I'm not sure it's appropriate for us to... What? Date? After everything that happened? It's been 6 months. Your case is resolved. There's no ethical issue. And I'm not asking as the person who helped you. I'm asking as someone who saw you fight for what matters and was impressed. Someone who'd like to spend time with you. See where it goes. I have a 6-year-old daughter. I work long hours. I don't have time for complicated relationships. I'm not asking for complicated, just coffee. Just conversation. Just a chance to get to know the woman who grabbed me in a courthouse hallway and asked for help from a complete stranger. That takes courage. I admire courage. I thought about it. About how my life had changed. About how I'd gotten so focused on survival that I'd forgotten about living. About how maybe it was time to take a chance on something beyond just getting through each day. Okay, coffee. But just coffee, and you're paying. Deal. We met the next Saturday at a cafe in Lincoln Park. Neutral territory. Public, safe. I brought Emma because I couldn't get a babysitter, and because if I was going to let someone into my life, they needed to understand that she came first. Alexander didn't seem to mind. He brought books, age-appropriate ones, asked Emma about school and her favorite things and what she wanted to be when she grew up. She told him she wanted to be a baker, like Mommy, or maybe a princess. She wasn't sure yet. Both options were good. He smiled at that, talked to her seriously like her answer mattered, like she was a person worth listening to, not just a kid to be tolerated. I watched him with my daughter and saw something I hadn't expected. Kindness. Real interest. The kind of attention that can't be faked. After Emma got absorbed in coloring at our table, Alexander turned to me. She's great. You've done an amazing job raising her. Thank you. She's my whole world. I can tell. And that's something I admire. I grew up in a wealthy family, had everything I wanted materially, but my parents were busy, important people with important careers. My father was always in court or at events. My mother was running her own business. I was raised mostly by nannies and tutors. They loved me, but they weren't present. Not the way you are with Emma. Is that why you started the foundation? Because you saw what absent parenting looks like? Partly. Also because I went to law school, started practicing family law, saw too many cases where good parents lost custody because they couldn't afford to fight. Saw too many kids placed with wealthy parents who treated them like accessories instead of people. It bothered me, so I used my inheritance to do something about it. Your father must be proud. He is. He's also conflicted because some of the cases I handled challenge rulings he's made, or would have made if they'd come before him. We have interesting conversations about the intersection of law and justice. Are they the same thing? Law and justice? Sometimes. Not always. The law is rules. Justice is fairness. They overlap, but not completely. And when they don't, you have to decide which one matters more. We talked for 2 hours about law and parenting and life and everything in between. Emma colored and ate cookies and occasionally interrupted with important updates about her drawing. When we finally left, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not just survival hope. Not just getting through the day hope. Real hope. The kind that makes you think maybe life could be more than just struggle and responsibility. Maybe it could be happy, too. Alexander and I started seeing each other regularly after that.
Coffee dates, dinner when I could get a babysitter, sometimes just walks in the park with Emma. He never pushed, never demanded more than I could give, never made me feel like I owed him anything beyond whatever I wanted to offer freely. After 3 months of dating, he met my mother. She'd been supportive through the custody battle, but worried about me dating someone so soon. "Olivia, are you sure about this? He's the judge's son. He's wealthy. He's from a completely different world. What if it doesn't work out?" Then it doesn't work out and we move on. "But Mom, he's kind. He's patient. He understands that Emma comes first, and he makes me happy. I haven't been happy in a long time. Isn't that worth something?" "Of course it is. I just don't want you to get hurt." "I might, but I might also build something good. I have to try." Alexander proved himself over and over in the following months. He showed up to Emma's school play, helped me with bakery inventory when I was overwhelmed, fixed my car when it broke down, never complained when dates got canceled because Emma was sick or I had to work late, never made me feel like I was asking too much or giving too little. He just showed up, consistently, reliably, the way partners are supposed to. A year after we started dating, he proposed. Not dramatically, not publicly, just the two of us, sitting on his couch after Emma had gone to bed after a sleepover. "Olivia, I want to marry you. I want to build a life with you and Emma. I want to be part of your family, if you'll have me. Alexander, I need you to understand something. Emma will always come first. Always. I can't be someone who prioritizes a relationship over her daughter. I know. I wouldn't want you to. Emma should come first. Any good partner would understand that. Any good partner would support that. I want to be that kind of partner." "And what about your family? Your father? What if they don't approve?" "My father adores you. He's told me multiple times that you're the best thing that ever happened to me, that you make me better. My mother agrees. They'll be thrilled." "What about the foundation? The work you do? Will that be complicated if we're married?" "No, you're not an active client anymore. Rebecca closed your case 6 months ago after Marcus stopped challenging custody. There's no ethical concern." I looked at the ring he was offering. Simple, beautiful, exactly my style. "Yes. Okay, yes, I'll marry you." We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Emma was the flower girl. She took the job very seriously, practiced walking slowly and dropping petals for weeks beforehand. Judge Morrison officiated. He gave a short speech about love and commitment and the importance of choosing partners who make you better, about how his son had found someone who challenged him to be more compassionate, more present, more human. Marcus showed up to the wedding. I'd invited him because Emma wanted her father there. He congratulated us, awkwardly, told me he was sorry for the custody battle, that he'd been wrong, that he could see Emma was happy and that was what mattered. I accepted his apology. Not because I'd forgiven everything, but because holding on to anger wasn't worth the energy. Because Emma needed her parents to be civil. Because moving forward meant letting go of the past. Alexander and I bought a house together, big enough for all of us, with a yard where Emma could play, in a neighborhood with good schools and safe streets. I kept my bakery, expanded it, actually, hired more staff, started doing wedding cakes and custom orders, built something I was proud of. Alexander continued running his foundation, helped more parents fight custody battles they couldn't afford, made a real difference in people's lives. We built a good life together. Not perfect. We had arguments about money and time and how to handle Emma's teenage years when they arrived. We had stress and conflict and moments of doubt. But we also had love. Real love. The kind built on respect and support and showing up for each other. The kind that survives hard times because both people are committed to making it work. Emma grew up with 2 homes, one with me and Alexander, one with Marcus and his wife. She adjusted, thrived even, had relationships with all her parents, understood that divorce was complicated, but that she was loved by everyone. One day, about 5 years after the wedding, I got a call from Rebecca Chen. She wanted to know if I'd be willing to speak to a client, a woman fighting custody, struggling financially, feeling hopeless. She needs to hear from someone who's been where she is, someone who fought and won, someone who can tell her it's possible. Of course, I'll talk to her. The woman's name was Sarah. She was 32, single mother, working 2 jobs. Her ex-husband was trying to take their kids using his new wife's money to hire expensive lawyers. She was terrified. I met her at a coffee shop, told her my story, about grabbing a stranger in a courthouse hallway, about fighting without a lawyer, about almost losing, about Judge Morrison's ruling, about Alexander's foundation, about how my life had changed. The system isn't fair, I told her. It's designed to favor people with money, but that doesn't mean you can't win. It means you have to fight harder, document everything, be the best parent you can be, and accept help when it's offered. Pride won't protect your kids, but good legal representation will. I can't afford a lawyer. You don't have to. That's why Rebecca called me. Alexander's foundation will take your case. They'll fight for you, just like they fought for me. You're not alone in this. Sarah cried, from relief, from hope, from the overwhelming emotion of realizing she had a chance. I stayed with her for 2 hours, answered questions, shared strategies, gave her every piece of advice I'd learned the hard way. When she left, she hugged me. Thank you. You don't know how much this means. I do know. I've been where you are, and I got through it. You will too. I went home that night and told Alexander about the meeting.
About Sarah and her situation and how familiar it all felt. Thank you, I said, for everything you do, for the foundation and the help and the lives you change. You changed mine. You know that, right? We changed each other's lives. You showed me what real courage looks like, what fighting for what matters looks like, what being a good parent looks like. I learned as much from you as you learned from me. Still, that day in the courthouse, when I grabbed you, when I asked for help from a complete stranger, that changed everything. If you'd said no, if you'd walked away, my entire life would be different. But I didn't say no, and you didn't give up. And here we are, building something good out of a moment of desperation. He was right. Everything had started with desperation, with fear, with a moment of absolute conviction that I couldn't do it alone. But that desperation had led to this, to a good life, to a partner who supported me, to stability for my daughter, to a second chance at happiness. 3 years later, Emma was 14, thriving in high school, talking about college, about her future, about all the things she wanted to do and be and experience. She told me one night over dinner that she wanted to study law, that she wanted to work in family court, that she wanted to help parents like I'd been helped. Mom, you always told me that someone helped you when you needed it most, that a foundation gave you lawyers and support and made it possible for us to stay together. I want to do that for other people. I want to be the person who helps. I looked at her, this incredible human I'd raised, this compassionate, driven, amazing young woman who wanted to make the world better. You can do anything you want, I told her. And whatever you choose, I'll support you. But I think you'd be an amazing lawyer. You've got the heart for it. Do you ever regret it? The custody battle, how hard it was? Every day I'm grateful we got through it. But regret? No. Because it led to this, to our life now, to your understanding that sometimes the system is broken, but you fight anyway, to your desire to help others. That came from hardship, from struggle, from seeing that justice is worth fighting for. Did you really grab Alexander in a courthouse hallway and ask him to pretend to be your lawyer? I did.
It was stupid and desperate and illegal, and I'm not proud of it, but I was out of options. And he said yes to helping in a different way. And that made all the difference. That's kind of romantic, actually. Desperate woman, mysterious stranger, turns out to be the judge's son. It's like a movie. It was terrifying at the time, but yes, looking back, it was pretty romantic. Emma smiled. I like our story. I like that you fought for me, that you didn't give up even when everything seemed impossible, that you taught me never to stop fighting for what matters. That's the only lesson that matters in the end. Fight for what you love, fight for what's right, fight even when it seems hopeless, because sometimes, if you fight hard enough, you win. My name is Olivia Morrison now. I used to be Olivia Harper. I'm 38 years old. I own a successful bakery. I'm married to an amazing man who runs a foundation that helps parents fight custody battles. I have a 14-year-old daughter who's brilliant and kind and wants to change the world. And it all started because I was desperate enough to grab a stranger in a courthouse hallway and ask for help. People ask me sometimes if I believe in fate, if I think Alexander and I were meant to meet, if everything happened the way it was supposed to. I don't know about fate, but I know about choices. I chose to show up to court even though I had no lawyer. I chose to ask a stranger for help, even though it was crazy. I chose to accept the support Alexander's foundation offered. I chose to take a chance on dating him even though it seemed complicated. I chose to build a life with him. I chose to keep fighting. Every time. Even when it was hard. And those choices made all the difference. So when people ask about fate, I tell them this. Fate might put opportunities in your path, but you have to be brave enough to take them. You have to be desperate enough or hopeful enough or crazy enough to reach out and grab the chances that appear. You have to choose to fight. And if you do, if you keep fighting and choosing and trying, sometimes things work out. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you build something beautiful out of moments of absolute desperation. That's my story. A desperate mother who grabbed a stranger in a courthouse hallway and changed her entire life. Who fought a system designed to favor wealth and won because a judge saw through the money to what actually mattered. Who found love with the last person she expected. Who built a happy life out of the wreckage of a painful divorce. And who learned that sometimes asking for help from strangers is the bravest thing you can do. Did you like my story? What city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your support. I'm looking forward to your comments. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.